100 subscribers. Only one of the very smallest subscriber count milestones, however still incredibly influential for me. When I was younger, I was obsessed with getting popular and becoming a YouTuber. I remember having made at least 4 channels, not counting this one, as I was never happy with my username. Because of this, every time I came up with a new username that I was slightly happier with, I always decided to start anew. The videos I made didn't really have that much of a purpose. It's not that I didn't enjoy making them, mostly at least, although I think that I saw getting popular as being one of my main goals when making them. In my teenage years though, I finally came up with a username that I actually connected with, that being Bakso Boy. Bakso is Indonesian and kind of translates to meatball, so my name is literally Meatball Boy. Why is that? Well, that was my nickname when I was a baby, as for a period of time my cheeks were for some reason insanely puffed up, as if I was hiding baksos behind them. These photos really don't make that statement justice, but I sadly couldn't find the image I was looking for where this was really visible. Why did I always have that expression in photos? Anyways, I can for sure say that I feel a bigger connection to this username compared to my older usernames. As since I'm so bad with coming up with names, I literally always just relied on websites used to generate names that just meshes together different words that the user typed in. For one of my first usernames, the website asked, "Oh, what do you like?" I of course answered, "Gaming!" For the channel I made after that one, "Oh, what do you like?" "Being stealthy like a ninja!" As you can imagine, the first channel focused on gaming videos where I just recorded myself playing games. For the second channel, I also focused on gaming videos. The production quality was awful, no one watched them. Compared to when I was younger, now I actually make videos without the goal of getting popular. Of course, I wouldn't complain if that were to happen, however, now my goal is just to be able to share the things that I've made. Specifically my project about the lore that I'm making for my character Cotton, who I use kind of to express myself, as I made him to be, for the most part, an idealized version of myself. Although I guess a more accurate description of him would be an idealized and exaggerated version of myself. Sometime later after I created Cotton, I came up with some random lore ideas for him, with how the world around him worked and stuff. With time I kept writing down more and more ideas until, whoops, now I have 50 full pages worth of unorganized random notes and ideas. For quite a while I was struggling with figuring out how I could turn these notes into a more organized and cohesive story, until I finally came up with the idea of making the story unfold in the form of a logbook written by Cotton, where he writes down entries whenever interesting things happen. Originally I was just planning on making images for each entry, containing the text and some drawings for each one, and leaving it at that. However, I decided to create videos about each entry, kind of like an audiobook, as to increase the amount of people who would potentially see it. Getting popular still isn't a goal for me anymore, however I am still incredibly passionate about the story that I've created for Cotton, and naturally of course want as many people as possible to see the ideas that I have for him. In case you're new here, the story I'm making is of Cotton, who discovers that the universe is actually 4-dimensional, where he goes on to discover incredibly surrealistic places that appear to break the laws of physics, where he slowly uncovers more truths about how existence actually works. In case that sounds interesting to you, then you can check out the playlist down in the description for all the entries that I've made thus far. I think that a lot of these ideas for his story came from the fact that I absolutely love abstract terrain, or something like that. I honestly don't really know what to refer to it as, but I guess it's kind of when something, especially terrain and environments, appear to mostly be familiar to what we would expect, but that it has something that makes it outside of our reality. Some examples of this could be non-euclidean geometry, where everything appears to bend strangely and absolute space isn't what you're used to, or a planet where gravity is inverted so that you have to stand under overhangs in the terrain as to not fall into space. For some reason I'm also absolutely obsessed with trees and how they look. This goes for actual trees in real life, but also surrealistic trees that, like the terrain and environments, have some of their features made unrealistic and different. A decent amount of inspiration for these environments and trees actually come from my dreams, both normal dreams and lucid dreams. Sadly, the only example I have when it comes to trees is a relatively speaking boring one, which I saw recently in my dream, that only had around 10 leaves or something, except that those leaves were absolutely gigantic and were in the shape of clover leaves. That is literally the only tree I remember from my dreams, as for some annoying reason it is extremely hard for me to remember the abstract features of the trees I see once I wake up, despite me for sure knowing that I've seen some super cool trees in my dreams before. Which sucks, since surrealistic trees is one of the things that I'm most interested in seeing when I'm lucid dreaming. It is insane though how quickly our brains are able to come up with cool things once it's forced to. When awake it can be hard to think of ideas, however when dreaming, if you are in a situation where your brain needs to come up with something, it will just do so instantly without needing time to think about what to show in the dream. If I had lucid dreams more frequently and was better at remembering the details from my dreams, then holy shit, Cotton's lore would be 100 times more surreal than it already is. Going back to the 100 subscriber milestone again, as that was supposed to be the actual topic of this video, when I was younger and was really into the idea of becoming a well-known YouTuber, hitting 100 subscribers has always been my goal to, I guess, prove to myself that what I made was actually any good. It was probably as much as 10 years ago since I heard this, so I don't even remember what the exact number was. However, I remember hearing somewhere from someone that only 1%, or 10%, I don't remember which one, of YouTube channels had over 100 subscribers. Because of this, that number has always been the key milestone for me, and after so long I've finally been able to reach it. Kind of poetically, it only happened for the YouTube channel where I didn't care about my subscriber count and only published my work because I wanted it to be viewable by anyone, so that I could share all the ideas I was so passionate about. Despite 100 people being absurdly small compared to people who get multiple millions of subscribers, isn't 100 subscribers actually pretty insane? I'm not particularly social, so my friend group is pretty small, definitely less than 10 people who I frequently talk to. So having literally more than 10 times as many people as that who are interested in watching your work is pretty incredible. This is an amount of people that can barely fit inside of a room, all having the same one very specific interest in common. Considering how unreal having 100 people be interested in your work, I can't imagine how absurd it is that people can have multiple millions of subscribers. In any case, I'm happy that there are actually people who find my series of Cotton's journey interesting. It feels amazing knowing that I'm not the only person in the world who is excited about his lore. Well, I mean, I'm most definitely still the one who is the most interested in the project, as I have a billion ideas that I'm waiting to be able to make entries about. But still, the fact that there are other people than me who are also excited about the lore makes me even more excited. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't really know how to end it naturally though, to be honest. Have a good day, bye bye!